Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Royal Sussex Live. Welcome, one and all. Thank you so much for being here. Esmeralda Dillon, thank you so much for being. I love that name. And Lydia Washington, Mary H, Mama Jane, um, Connie Balmer. Thank you so much for being here, Connie Balmer, and thank you again for the lovely gift box. And I will be in touch with you very soon, I promise. Let me see here. Bunny Rose, thank you for being here. Judy Matassit, Novi D, Nathalando Niandini, thank you so much for being here. Heather Stroud, Adrian Burrow, and M. Covington, and Joan Garcia, if you're listening. Who else? Oh, Geraldine White. Thank you so much for listening out there. And everybody else that's listening that don't get a chance to come into the live chat. Thank you so much. All right. So somebody got heckled and it wasn't pretty. As a matter of fact, I could have possibly have shared it with you yesterday, but unfortunately, I didn't notice it until I got done. One of the things that I like to do is to take another sweep through before I get off. Or should I say, you know what? I was looking at the, what's her name? Mae West documentary. And so after you watch anything with Mae West, you start getting very self-conscious about double entendres. So, oh, by the way, the professor twice in the past couple of days, I don't know if he's trolling me or not, but if I just said one of the things that he said out of context, it would be awful. It would be devastating. If I said it in context, it would still be weird. So I cannot tell you what he said, but I'm just like, is he trolling me? Did he get word that that I have that I have pointed out some of the more interesting um, anecdotes? Is that the right word? Observations, whatever you want to call it. But I have noticed a few of those, and I'm just like, the professor, I don't know if he understands how weird certain things sound. Like, for instance, when he was speaking about um, Lydia Thorpe, he had said something. First of all, did anybody else hear what he said? He had said something to the effect, well, let me stop because I don't want to encourage you. Well, you know what? I won't discourage you from watching his channel because even though I think sometimes he's a little shady, um, he's a royalist and I could accept that. I'm not bothered by the fact that someone is a royalist. Um, that's their affair. Um, long as he doesn't say anything disparaging about the Sussexes, okay? What I'm curious about sometime is the fact that when things really ought to be showcased or highlighted, he chooses to ignore it. And that lets you know for certain that he's not exactly in their corner. He's very neutral about Meghan. He's usually very positive about Harry. And that's as far as it goes. So, let me see. Hello, half asleep. And, oh, I see. Well, thank you so much for saying hi, Church Nelly. And thank you for being so supportive all this time. Um, yeah, there's a core few of you all that are moderators. And let me just say, on behalf of all of the Sussex friendly spaces, thank you all for what you do for us because one of the things that makes the growth of these channels possible is to have a Sussex friendly space. And um, if you are a content creator and you cannot seem to, keep your comments clean, just block the people. It will not affect the growth of your channel at all. They won't even know they're blocked. And also, you could go into the menu and you can block certain words. Just go to community and you can eliminate certain words from your comment section. Um, and that also helps. So, yeah, it's worth it. That was the best advice that I received when I started this channel. But yeah, what the professor said about removing, and let me just say this too, the professor was very aware of how problematic it is for, um, I would say, for democracy that they removed Lydia Thorpe. But we'll get to that. He was very aware that that's troubling, and it is, because I believe they enfranchised on her rights. But let's get to it, shall we? So remember, it is October, and October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Every year at this time, we remind people to be aware of early detection. Of course, supporting people who, are going through treatment right now. And of course, considering how taboo the topic was years ago, the fact that we can speak openly about any type of illness, let alone breast cancer, that shows progress. So, um, have those conversations, be aware, express your concerns. Early detection is key. Early detection is the key. Now, here's a group shot. Those are the people who have purchased those Monarchy farewell tour shirts, as well as the ones that are carrying the placards. As you can see, they don't say "Not My King." Theirs just has an arrow, and it says Australian Republic Movement. But I think farewell tour is pretty catchy too. That is pretty catchy. And of course, I'm just going to go through these. I don't think we'll be on that long tonight, you guys. At least I don't think so. I hope not. Let's see, get your hands on our Farewell Oz tour merch. And of course, I did share these with you before, but worth sharing them with you again. Definitely. You would think that a big band was coming to town. Well, it's just a bunch of hot air. Juanita, is it Quintanilla? I have never figured out how to pronounce that. I think it's Quintanilla. I hope I got that right. But anyway, love the name Juanita. That's always been one of my favorite names. Okay. So it says here, what an afternoon. We gathered at Customs House Bar in Sydney to, let me see if I can brighten up my screen a bit. Hold on. Let me get a bigger screen. Make it easy on myself. There we go. Now do that. Okay, what an afternoon. It says, we gathered at Customs House Bar in Sydney to wave goodbye to royal reign and to call for an Australian as our head of state, that is. The energy was incredible as we connected with like-minded Republic supporters, shared ideas, and pushed the campaign forward. Thanks to everyone who came, including Graham Smith from Republic UK. I wish I would have had this handy, but I'm still going to do it anyway. Ready? Here goes. Okay. Graham Smith from Republic UK and made sure a republic is part of the national conversation. Missed it? Don't worry. Our next event is coming up soon, including tonight's ACT event at Badger and Company at the Australian National University and tomorrow's King of Australia dinner in Tasmania. You know, I'm going to tell you what I learned today is that I was today years old when I found out that New Zealand, and I think is it New Zealand and someplace else. Oh, Canada. I think New Zealand and Canada, that the First Nation people or, the native uh, indigenous people actually have a treaty with uh, the government, a treaty with the British government, I believe it is. And that Australia, I believe they had a referendum for a treaty, or perhaps they tried to pass the bill into law and it was defeated. And so, out of all of the former colonies, now Commonwealth, I believe Australia is the only one of a group of the three, I believe, that does not have one. And that is what was brought up during that situation yesterday. So, you know, human rights and such, I think they should. Judy Matassit, thank you so much for the super sticker and for being a member. And also, Mama Jane, thank you so much for the super sticker and being a member of Royal Sussex. Okay. And let's see, what else do we have here? So check out those smug faces, just as entitled and as smug as they want to be. That is King Charles III, and that is Queen Camilla, the Queen Consort. Well, anyway, this is their reaction to Miss Thorpe yesterday. Oh, wait a minute. Do I have that ready? Oh gosh, I hope so. Wait, let me see. Let me see. Do I? No, I do not. I do not have that ready. Well, anyway, give me a second. It only take a second. But yes, that was their reaction to Miss Thorpe yesterday. She turned the party, as they say. That's drag queen talk. She turned the party. She turned it, y'all. She turned it. She got them together. She snatched them up. Yeah, that's right. She snatched them up. Now there's a bunch of different angles out there, but I think I'm going to stick with the one that I have. Yes, this one will do just fine. Okay, are we ready? Incoming. So, oh, she just dropped a couple of F-bombs, I think. And then they started it was so bizarre because they started playing chamber music. You know, that kind of music that you would play during a tea or a luncheon. They began to play chamber music, which was so surreal after that. Um, but she did mention that they want a treaty. Yeah. She said that they want a treaty. And she brought up things like genocide and such. And you're not my king. And there's Charles and Camilla. And at a certain point they kind of leaned in and laughed about it, if I recall. They leaned in and had a nice little laugh about it. So um, you know, it may be a thing that comes back to haunt them, maybe, maybe not. But yeah, she was very spirited. Now, you guys, I'm not making this up because you know it happened the other day. I think it was last week. I told you guys that I was waiting and that I was watching Lydia Thorpe's page because I was curious to see exactly how she was going to respond to all of this. And I saw no changes on her Twitter account. And so I was just like, well, maybe she's not going to say or do anything. But maybe that's what the plan was to be stealth about it, and then at the opportune moment, raise hell. And that's exactly what she did. She gave them an earful. She gave them a tongue wagging. And I'm like, okay, that's the Lydia Thorpe I know. Um, but yeah, so I was anticipating something from her, and she did not disappoint. Okay. And then, of course, Charles eventually gave a speech, and it's a wonder that he's not weighed down by where's the Australian sun? That he's not weighed down with all of that brass that he's wearing, all of the chocolate metals that he's wearing. Let me see. So Graham Smith, who has been trolling them since day one, actually he started trolling them before they even got there. King Charles leaves Parliament House, but not before meeting dozens of school kids. And of course, Graham Smith asked the question, why is he wearing medals? What an odd man. And they always bus in school kids every time, using them as PR props, which is another theme that we have been going on about, is that it almost seems like North Korea. Now, I you can see the children there. There's a better image of it. There's even a video of it, but I don't think we need to bother with that. But the point is, as mentioned before, it wouldn't be Charles and Camilla. It wouldn't be the royal family if they didn't bring children in by the busload and use them as props, which is exactly what happened. I believe that they are hoping that the presence of the children will serve a dual purpose to make it seem like there's an outpouring. Actually, there's three purposes. Number one, first and foremost, indoctrinate the next generation. Secondly, to make it seem like there was a great deal of enthusiasm for the royal visit. And thirdly, gosh, what was the third? Uh, I forgot what the third one was. And before added a third one, I had something in mind. But anyway, oh, they hope that the children will drown out any protesters. That's what they're hoping, is that the children will drown out the protesters. Lex says, notice how they wanted people to yell at Harry for the monarchy during his tours. They have pointed out how that Harry doesn't represent the monarchy. So why should people yell at him? Careful what you wish for. Here, here, legs. Here, here. One ought to be careful what you wish for. And Vaughn says, Baron, she's trying to get some of the original group members from NWA back together. Okay, that's one way to look at it. That's a group I haven't heard from in a while, but yeah, that's one way to look at it. Thank you so much, Vaughn, for the super sticker, and thank you for being here. Let me see. Yeah, yeah, that is true. Um, and you know what? That's something that will always be um, something to debate about. Is did she stay too long? Was she trying to delay the inevitable? That's a good one. That's a good one. I would say that it was too long, especially when you consider I didn't realize that there was that big of a tradition with the Scandinavian royals and even the Dutch royal family to step back instead of staying well past your welcome. Step back. But then again, when you consider that in her lifetime, Queen Elizabeth has pretty much been the overseer for dissolving of the empire, the dismantling of the British Empire. I guess the only thing that she really could look forward to is reigning longer than any other monarch in British history. That is, I believe Louis XIV in European monarchies actually reigned the longest. Was it Louis XIV? But whatever the case may be, uh, she needn't bother because at this point, it's not as though people actually miss her. People have gone about their business and it's not a thing. You don't see anybody coming together on the anniversary of her death and weeping. The family doesn't do anything in particular. Is almost like she never was, which is astounding. It's astounding. She's got to be one of the most famous women in history, and it's almost like she didn't exist at all. I will never ever figure that one out. And it's not because, you know, so much a lack of interest from the public as much as the institution doesn't seem to care. They just don't seem to care. They don't bother to show up when statues are unveiled. They only the one at the, I think it was Westminster Abbey, and I don't know if they went to the one at York Cathedral, but it doesn't seem to be much interest. It's amazing. Now, Richard Palmer says, my view is, and always has been, that journalists and their news organizations will only survive if they have earned the reputation and trust as trusted news sources. I think those putting out 44 stories per day about one royal will go out of business and quite soon. Promise? Promise, Richard Palmer? Promise? Because I don't conceive of a world where those opportunists, and I'm assuming that he's speaking about Meghan, that those opportunists are going to leave her alone. I just don't see it. Um, there may come a time, uh, who knows when, but there may come a time, but I don't see it. It checks off too many. It checks off too many boxes. It really does. It checks off too many boxes, and there doesn't seem to be any groundswell of support from the mainstream media, as we know it in the US, to push back against it, to call out other members in the same industry. And no matter how kind and gracious you are, they make it almost impossible to be sympathetic to a rich person or a famous rich person. They make it seem as though your punishment via tabloid media stories is the price that you pay for fame and fortune. Now, one actress or actor, if that's not politically correct, she said, I believe it was, what's the one that does the oh gosh, oh, I can't think of her name. She does the whatever story with Hugh Jackman and somebody else, a something tale, whatever it is. I can't remember her name, but she, um, I guess, did an interview one time, and she said, "Yeah, I get it. You know, I am famous, and I, whatever it, what else she said. But if I'm with my children, or if I'm in a, a personal situation, is it really necessary to jump out of nowhere with a camera, to chase me in my car, to hound my family?" And it was heartbreaking to hear her say that. It's heartbreaking to hear her say that. And the other day, they just showed a soap opera actress who was so frail and so ill and using a walker, or as you say in the UK, a walking frame. And listen, I am very curious. I'm like, well, who are they talking about? Of course, they wouldn't give the name, so you had to open up the story to figure out who they're talking about. But at the same time, if I did not see that person staggering along, that is, with the aid of a walker and some medical person, it wouldn't affect my life in any way whatsoever. It didn't improve things for me that this very private moment, this is how she's going to be remembered now. So I am guilty of opening up the story, trying to figure out who are they talking about. But that's what the tabloid media is. It's your worst moments shared with the world, whether you like it or not. And why? Because that is the price that you pay for fame and fortune. And even in the old days of Hollywood, the golden era of Hollywood, they would sacrifice this actor so that the press would leave someone else alone. So that's nothing new. So yeah, I don't see that day anytime soon, Richard Palmer. I don't see that day. Something Jones. What is her name? Liz Jones? No, not Liz Jones. Jones. Whatever that movie was. It was three of them now, right? And then she comes back with a baby. Not Grace Jones. Oh, I cannot think of it. Anyway, it was that actress. No, not Shirley Jones. She's the American actress. She uses a British accent, and she Bridget. Thank you, Legs. Legs, you always know. Bridget Jones' Diary. That's it. Bridget Jones' Diary. Oh, Vaughn, you got it too. Thank you very much. Okay. Well, we got there eventually. Okay. Not Grace Jones. No, not Grace Jones. Okay. Okay. Now, let me see here. It's not peaceful Republicans like Lydia Thorpe who are disrespectful. It's people who expect us to bow down to a hereditary king. Here's my article for what is that? Something. So is it the paper? That whatever. Thy paper? Oh, I don't know how they got that spelled, but anyway. So there's Graham Smith still trolling people. So Marty Fields says, who told Lydia Thorpe she could speak for us? Who told her it was okay to scream at the king? I don't care if you're black, white, royalist, or Republican. Have some bloody respect. As monarch, I'm sorry, as the monarch, he has earned it. What a disgrace. Now, of course, Graham Smith says she was literally elected to speak for Australians, unlike Charles, who hasn't earned a thing. And when you think about it, that is correct. Lydia Thorpe was elected by the people. She won an election. She went through the process of an election. That's the way she earned the right to be there. Anna Boyd, thank you so much for the super sticker. And thank you so much for being here tonight. And then, of course, someone else replied to Marty Fields and said, can anyone remember what Charles did to earn his role? Well, let me see. There was that time. How about when he, well, then he, okay, but you, yeah, all right. He didn't do anything. It was an accident of birth. That's it. It was an accident of birth. So that's what he did. Joan Lawman, thank you so much for the super sticker. And thank you for being a member of Royal Sussex. So, with that said, King Charles, heckled by Indigenous Senator Lydia Thorpe at Australia's Parliament House, independent senator yells, "This is not your country," and give us a treaty. At Monarch during key event of King's 5-day visit to Australia. So she said what she said. Hey, Ulibi. And then, of course, there's this. I was arrested for heckling King Charles, and I'd do it again. Do you understand me? I would do it again. King Charles, as an Australian Parliament House, in Australian Parliament House, the king gave no answer. He never does. As he finished his speech to the Australian Parliament, Senator Lydia Thorpe walked toward Charles, calling out that he was not her king and challenging him over his family's treatment of First Nations people in Australia. The unelected head of state did not respond. He simply waited for the elected senator to be forcibly removed from her own parliament. That is a concern. You know, we have Marjorie Taylor Greene and that other crazy lady, and they have yet to be escorted out of the United States Congress. On social media, Thorpe immediately accused of being disrespectful, but how else is Thorpe to express her views to Charles? She cannot stand against him in an election. Ooh, that's something to think about. He is elected by nobody. She cannot debate him on television. He rarely gives a serious interview, and is never probably challenged, properly challenged. I was one of the several people in the UK who was arrested for voicing opposition to monarchy when Charles was declared king. And in September of 2022, I was charged with a breach of the Public Order Act, charged in which was dropped 2 weeks later with little explanation, alongside hundreds of supportive messages and a few death threats I received, messages saying that I was disrespectful. It seemed to be royalists' favorite accusations. In reality, it is not diplomatic Republicans such as Miss Thorpe and me who are disrespectful. It is Charles and his allies. Charles showed his disrespect for democracy and debate in Australia before the royal tour had even begun, when he turned down a polite request to meet with Australian Republican movement. There you go. Rejecting the invitation, the monarch spokespeople said that he respected the Australian people's right to decide for themselves whether to keep the monarchy. This is disingenuous. Charles and Camilla have traveled to Australia just as support for a republic is growing there, while the Australian Republican movement compare to royal visits to a farewell tour by aging rock stars. Australian royalists are making no secret of their hope that the visit will whip up support for monarchy. At present, no referendum is on the issue. On the issue is planned. So, as I said yesterday, Charles knows full well that because of the economic woes that has struck most countries after the pandemic, post pandemic, that there's no appetite to spend anywhere from 200 to 350 million Australian dollars for a referendum. That is a lot of money for a referendum. That is what the equivalent of possibly, say, $5 per, how many people in Australia? Like 26 million, 28 million. But it's expensive. It's expensive. So there's no appetite for it. And Charles knows full well that even though there are many people in government, like the premiers, that refuse to show up, there's a lot of people who do not care for monarchy. They think it's a waste of time. They would rather have a government that is located wholly and completely within the confines of Australia, not in Westminster, right? Not the court of St. James or whatever, the court of St. James or King James, not there, but in Australia. So it is rather interesting that you have Charles as a head of state. That is weird. I mean, gosh, that could have happened here in the United States. You know that? What if they had kept Charles as the well, not Charles, but what was it, George the Third? What if they would have kept him as head of state? Be a totally different country. The Constitution, as it is, would be very different. We'd have a governor general. Ugh. Yeah. Better to sever the ties and move on. Plus, like I said, Australia is not this insecure young country anymore. Now it is part of a group of nations where they have treaties and such, and they're financially bound to states in the Pacific, and of course, South America, the United States, Canada. They have their own treaties. Okay, and then I have a little soundbite for you from Graham Smith. This will be very short. This will be an everlasting love. This will be the one I waited for. This will be the first time anyone has loved me. Oh.
So I'm outside the Australian Federal Parliament in Canberra. We're staging a small but symbolic protest against the monarchy as British Republicans, but also joined by Australian Republicans, including Women for Australian Republic. And both here in Australia and Britain of the campaign to talk to Australians about how awful the British monarchy is and why it needs to be abolished, and to talk to British press about the growth of the Republican movement, the fact that we can do this now, we can follow Charles wherever he goes, protest wherever he goes, and make our voice heard.
Did you hear that, Charles? They can follow you wherever you go. Let's see. Members of the Windsor family consistently avoid any encounter, however calm and polite, with opponents of the monarchy. Charles has never met any Republican group. He does not appear on Newsnight or the Today program to answer difficult questions. When meeting members of the public in Cardiff in 2022, he could not even bring himself to respond to someone who calmly asked him about the cost of the coronation. What person in Cardiff? He couldn't bring himself to I don't remember that. Do you all remember that? He could not bring himself to. I'm just kidding. I know what he's talking about.
While we struggle to heat our homes, we have to pay for your parade. The taxpayer pays 100 million for you, and what for? Needham Renin, not my king. Charles, while we struggle to heat our homes, we have to pay for your parade. The taxpayer pays 100 million for you, and what for? Needham Renin, not my king.
So when Charles, did you see the way he looked like Charles Nelson Riley? You see the way the corners of his mouth look like actor Charles Nelson Riley. Oh my God, when I first saw that, that tickled me so bad. He looked just like Charles Nelson Riley. Anyway, yeah, that's right. Neiman Marcus, not my king. That's how you say it in Welsh. Neiman Marcus, not my king. But it is people who object to this sort of behavior who are described as disrespectful. The police routinely go to ludicrous lengths to protect the royals from even having to see or hear Republicans. Oh, a 16-year-old. I didn't realize that. Yeah. Dignity and respect. Absolutely. So, but in case you didn't catch the caption, when Charles went to Wales, he went there to address, or I don't know if he had to do an address, but he went to the Parliament in Scotland, in Wales, and I believe he went to one in Northern Ireland or no. But anyway, it was to secure his position, his accession to the throne, sign the documents and to get the support of the people within the government or whatever. Okay, so he did that. But why did they choose the day in history that is a day that will cause anger and despair to people who would prefer that Wales does not have a foreign born king as their head of state? They chose that day deliberately. Charles did not have to go to Wales that day. That was a choice that he made. Just like that ridiculous painting with that red, um, demonic looking paint job, that was deliberate. He meant to invoke a response from people. There's a lot of things that Charles III does deliberately to snub it in people's face, to snub people with his authority and his position. It's not by chance, it's not an accident, it's deliberate. Oh, RS, thank you so much for the PayPal. Thank you very much. Greatly appreciate it. Let me see. Was there a note to go with that? Well, yeah, he does those things deliberately. And I really do think that Charles and Camilla, they have a big laugh about certain things that they do, certain emotions that they trigger from people. I think it's a big joke to them. I think that they just kind of lean in and have a laugh about it. If I had to guess, that's what I'm going to say, is that it is quite humorous to the two of them how much anguish they cause other people because they know that there's nothing that can be done about it. And they know that everything is going to go their way. It always does for now. Yeah, and of course, why did he uh what do you call it? Suspend treatment? William, if there you guys, I'm telling you there's something wrong with William and Kate. And I don't think it's just medical. There is something wrong with William and Kate. Both of them. Both of them. But in particular, William should have gone on this trip. This should be William, not Charles. Are they afraid that William's not popular enough in Australia? So there's Lydia Thorpe. She is in, I suppose, tribal costume, tribal clothing. You may remember she's the one who referred to Queen Elizabeth as the colonizing Queen Elizabeth when she took her oath as senator. It was required that she had to pledge her allegiance to Queen Elizabeth and all of her um, and offspring, all of her family, all of her heirs. So Lydia Thorpe refers to the Queen as the colonizer while making oath in Senate. Good for her. And of course, that is when I first got to know Lydia Thorpe, was because I love this photo, the way they put these photos together like the Queen. Huh? What'd she say? What did she say? Did she ask me about 1992, a year which I shan't look back upon with undiluted pleasure? And of course, she's very active when it comes to protesting. As you can see here, she literally um, was knocked to the ground because of her protest, but you cannot stop her. She says what she says, and that's all to it. But yeah, somehow she ended up on the ground. And this is my favorite image of her. I love this photo. Very cool. Very cool. I believe that is the First Nations flag. Yeah, and this is a more up to date photo. And there is the hottest, and I do mean the sexiest sovereign on the face of the earth. There is no ruling, reigning sovereign that is as hot as this guy. Hands beat red and swole up like catcher's mitts. And of course, those huge satellite dish ears neatly tucked behind just a little spray of hair so that you could barely notice them. And of course, those child bearing hips. You know, I would love to see Charles III do a hula hoop. I bet you he could swing them hips. What y'all want to bet that nobody could work the hula hoop like King Charles III? As a matter of fact, I would, if I was to realize this fantasy that I have, he would have to do it to Aretha Franklin, Rock Steady. Rock steady, baby, that's what I feel now. Let's call this song exactly what it is. What it is, what it is. Oh, what it is. I could just hear him now. What it is, what it is. It's a funky and low down feeling. Shake your hips from left to right. What it is I might be doing this funky dance all night long. Yep, I can just see Charles swinging them hips to Aretha Franklin, Rock Steady. Dun-dun-dun-dun-dun-dun-dun-dun. Dun-dun-dun-dun-dun-dun-dun. Yes, yes. Do it, Charlie. Swing them hips. Those big, awkward looking childbearing hips. Just what every man needs. Those very awkward yet puzzling childbearing hips. Whatever's going on, he's having a good time, ain't he? Rock steady. Rock steady. Dun, 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 dun. What it is. What it is. What is it, Charles? Oh, what it is. Yep, I can see him. Anyway, I'd pay good money to see that. Oh, Queen Victoria statue attacked with red paint hours before Charles and Camilla's tour. Oh, really? Yes, that really happened. They went after Queen Victoria's statue. Look at there. Yeah, poor Vicky. She got a brush load of it. Well, I've seen worse. I've seen worse. That's a lack of sleep singing. No, actually, I didn't tell you guys. I got rid of the old recliner chair that I had for like 11 years, and I got a new recliner, and it is my back is so much better. I didn't tell you guys my back was like really bad a couple of weeks ago. And anyway, this chair is a real godsend. It heats, it vibrates. It's amazing, and it's just the perfect angle. So I had been needing one for ages, and or did I mention this already? My sister had gave me some money to get the chair, and I just couldn't make up my mind. I could not make up my mind. She gave me money for the chair, and I just couldn't make up my mind. I was just like, but I finally got one. So sometimes I sleep in it and I, lay it flat and everything. Oh, talk about some good rest. Good rest. So, yeah, it's a nice option to have that. So, life is good. Now, Queen Victoria's statue toppled, captured on video. This was back in March. And you know what? That's a different statue. That is a different statue. So this is not unusual. Places where there is a population of indigenous people that are pretty fed up with the lack of respect that they get from, the colonizers, they have targeted statues. And you know what? I was thinking about this, but I did not actually do any search online. But weren't they targeting churches in Canada? Some of the were they Anglican churches or Catholic churches? But they were targeting some churches that they just burned them. They burned them, and that was a couple of years ago. And I hadn't heard anything else about it, so I don't know if that was still happening. But oh, you guys, I don't know. I This global village that we live in, this multiculturalism and such. I am for multiculturalism, and I'm very soft on immigration. It does not bother me at all because in some form or fashion, everybody's an immigrant, and so it doesn't bother me. And I'm really disappointed that so many people are blaming the immigrants for everything and being so unwelcoming. I live in a city where there have been wave after wave after wave of people migrating. What's different about today? Especially when there are shortages of able-bodied workers. What's different today? I don't know. I don't get it. Shelly L says Charles is the poster child for don't have kids with your cousins with his luscious lips. There is something to be said about that. Thank you for the super chat. And I will admit he does have a bit of a odd silhouette. Okay. I'll be polite and say that. He does have a rather puzzling silhouette. I am puzzled by his silhouette. I am confounded and confused by Charles III's silhouette. Let's go back and take a look. Again, those beet red, swollen up hands, right? And those unusually large ears. I don't think anybody in that family had ears as large as those. And then, of course, the hips. The hips. You put all that together, and it's just like, what happened? And then, of course, he always looks like he's wearing cherry lip gloss. I'm like, is this man wearing cherry lip gloss? It always looks like he's wearing cherry lip gloss. To each their own. If you want to have that pouty mouth, oh, not this one. He is a rather odd looking person, though. He is. He's peculiar. Yeah. Very singular. Now, um, here's another image that some people are very bothered by it. That let me see. If you're not our king, you're not sovereign. Uh, Senator Thorpe. So I believe this was either tweeted or retweeted by Senator Thorpe. Um, you are not our king, and some people will be very bothered by that. Now, of course, violence has no place in this debate about um, republicanism, and of course, having an unelected head of state. It just simply doesn't. And I'm disturbed by it. I am because of what it implies. But I hope that people that are outraged will definitely consider what very similar images featuring the Duke and Duchess of Sussex, how demoralizing and troubling that is, because there are images that are tweeted constantly. I mean, time and time again, as someone said in Spaces one day, it's not so much that they don't like Meghan, but some of the images just takes your breath away. Now, if you notice, I don't do anything to people's faces. I tell you all the time, I did not alter this photo. I did not alter this photo. And I have a couple of them where people have, but I've never shared them. There's one where they pulled the corners of Kate's mouth down while at the Westminster Abbey. I've never shared that one. There's one where they put these almost prosthetic looking teeth in William's mouth. I've never shared that one. There's quite a few that I just don't share. I collect them, but I don't share them. Um, it's that kind of stuff that I'm talking about. Some of the images are just so disturbing. So while I am sympathetic about anyone sharing something like this about Charles III, I hope that it will raise the conversation about the way the Sussexes are depicted. It is disturbing, it is hurtful, and it's disturbing. They do things to disfigure their images, shading of their skin to the point where they look like they're terribly diseased and such. I hate that. I don't share photos like that because, I mean, I will put them in situations that are obviously ridiculous, but I don't distort their features. They are who they are. I don't change or alter their faces. That's going just a little bit too far in my book. Let's see. Shelly L says Charles is the poster child for the. Oh, sorry, I did that one already. Oh, did I do that? Just in case I didn't, but thank you so much again for the super chat. So, statue of the Queen defaced with red paint as King Charles tours Australia. What else is new? Now, here's something that I thought was an old photo. I did. I didn't think that this was new. I said, well, why are they showing that? Well, this is the thing. On the right is the Diamond Jubilee state coach given to Queen Elizabeth for her Diamond Jubilee. I saw that and I said, oh, okay. And I'm talking about the photo on the left side. I said, oh, that's where it comes from. So I just thought that they were, you know, talking about it because the Diamond Jubilee carriage comes from someone in Australia. I did not realize that during a time of austerity, and listen, it does not matter if this is a gift and Charles didn't have to pay for it. It is something that seems very odd and out of place. It just seems odd and out of place that the government is talking about cutting back, tightening of the belt, and Charles is getting a new carriage. Make that make sense. Charles is getting a new carriage while they're asking people to cut back, while they want to cut services. Almost in the same breath, they're telling us that there's a new carriage added to the collection. Talk about tone deaf. How tone deaf can you be? How tone deaf can you be? Let me see. Oh, let me. Okay, here goes. So, first look at the new state carriage, King Charles' latest royal carriage, complete with, are you ready for it? Electric windows, has been made public for the first time. It could be the last royal carriage of its kind, as its master craftsman is like the king battling cancer. Jim Frecklington, 74, has spent almost every day for the last 6 years working on this masterpiece at his warehouse in Sydney. He has previously created two royal coaches, the last in London, 1972. But it said it would be his last, if not the last, because of because of it becoming a dying art. So let me see here. If I didn't make it, no one else in the world would, he told The Sun on Sunday. Nobody else knows how, and it's my best yet. I wanted to do something special to honor King Charles. The design of the coach 3,250 kilogram coach is inspired by Rolls-Royce limousine and is due to be completed this year. Wow. Okay. And poor Mr. Frecklington is suffering from bowel and prostate cancer. Oh my goodness, it's spread to his lungs. He said he slowed down a bit. It's made with 1,000-year-old timber, hardwood. It has aluminum panels. The door handles are acquired from Sydney Opera House. Oh, that's an interesting detail. Well, yeah, that's for Charles III. Let me show you some close-ups. Now, to me, it looks identical to the one that the Queen has been using, but I guess that's not the point. So there it is in his warehouse. Lots of gold leaf. I think it weighs about 3 tons, I think, or something like that. And it's to be pulled by 6 horses. Yeah, 6 horses are to be used to pull this. And there, of course, is the cipher, what do they call that? The royal warrant, whatever you call that, for Charles. Huh. I see the Tudor rose. I see three-leaf clovers. Where's the feathers? Charles always used those feathers for the Prince of Wales, but I guess that does not apply here. Okay. Well, that is rather fancy, isn't it? And there's his cipher right there. Charles Rex. Charles Rex 3. And there's William J. Frecklington, Australia. Well, I tell you what, it is a very handsome coach. What confused me, though, is the fact that it's virtually identical to the other one. It's virtually identical. What was the point? It looks just like the other one. That's why I was wondering, why are they talking about this carriage? Oh, well, they haven't added those lights to it yet. That is not done yet. I'm trying to figure out what else is missing. Oh, and it has gas struts, just like a car. It has gas struts. It should be very comfortable. Let's see. Shelly L says, I don't know. Once they hitch once they hitch Camilla and her team up to it, it might look pretty good. Cheers to that one. Here, here. Touche. Okay, you guys, that is it for today. Okay. Thank you all very much for the super chats and super stickers. And thank you to the moderators for keeping this a very safe space. Thank you all for trusting me to do this work. And thank you for everyone who has a membership to Royal Sussex. I keep saying, oh, I got to put the names of the members. I got to put that up one of these days. I'm going to, put it on screen, all of the memberships. I need to do that. So, okay. Well, I was going back and forth about whether I was going to talk about this, but eventually I guess I would, because it's been a topic that, well, not a topic for, but, it's just been something that I mention every so often. As you know, I have been very close to my aunt for, quite some time. And unfortunately, she passed away today. And I guess I'm still a little bit numb and in shock about it, but not exactly what I was expecting, seeing that she was able to go to the supermarket. She drove herself to the supermarket yesterday. But unfortunately, I got the phone call that she passed away. So I'm not sure, what the arrangements and everything will be, but that will be forthcoming in the next day or so. So, um, but I'm gonna miss her, and she's like a not a squatty, but she always asks, "Where's Harry and Meghan? What is Harry and Meghan up to?" And and I give her the little updates and everything, but yeah, she will definitely be missed. And like I said, I'm still like kind of numb about it because I kept looking at my phone. I'm like, did that just happen? And yeah, it did. So um yeah, it's but I know her. She would she'd be like, well, are you gonna still work today? I'd be like, yeah, I will. So that's how our family is. We're just kind of crazy like that. But yeah, so that happened today, and I'm just like still trying to process that, trying to make sense out of it. But it was like not a. It was very quick. It was very quick. It wasn't like anything that was like this long drawn out illness or anything. That's why it's so surprising, because it was definitely unexpected, but it did happen, and she will be missed by her family and her friends. So anyway, thank you all very much, and thank you for the constant love and support for this channel. I will see you all tomorrow. I will be here tomorrow. Um, and not to worry, I'm okay. I'm okay. I'm okay. Um, yeah. So thank you. Love you guys, and let's say good night for now.